Hello and welcome to The Content Bite, a podcast for freelancers who use their words to make money. I'm Rachel Smith, a freelance journalist, copywriter and content producer. I'm also the founder of Rachel's List, a jobs board and community for Australian writers and other creatives.
And I'm Lynne Testoni. I'm a journalist and content writer as well. Rachel and I are your weekly co-hosts, and every week we bring you all kinds of tips, tricks and some fabulous guests to help you make the most of your freelance business. So every freelancer needs to manage their finances. We've talked about this a lot, but most systems are built for larger businesses, not sole trader businesses like ours, which means you end up paying for a lot of unnecessary features that you never use, such as payroll. Rounded is designed for freelancers, so it's super easy. You can see how much tax you'll need to pay, which is also something that other systems didn't tell me.
Yes, and Rounded really is an affordable all-in-one tool. Plus, if you're a gold member of Rachel's List, you can save another 20% on any annual subscription.
Hi, Rach, how are you?
I'm good.
Oh, that's good. But before we start chatting with our guest, who I'm very excited about, by the way, I just wanted to give another shout out for the Content Bite Summit and remind our listeners that they just have a couple of days left to secure the early bird discount.
Oh, yes, we have seen a bit of a flurry of last-minute sales for people rushing to get the VIP. It's just the VIP ticket, isn't it, for the early bird? So, yeah, you can find that at thecontentbitesummit.com.au if you wanted to have a look at all the different types of tickets we have.
Yeah. We know it's going to be a bit of a last-minute rush.
Yeah.
But that's the way it is.
In conference land.
In conference land.
Yeah.
But of course, the podcast goes on, and this is where it all started. And this week we have another inspiring writer, freelance journalist and author Dilvin Yasa. Now, Dilvin and I worked together many years ago. We were chatting off air that it's been 14 or 15 years since we've seen each other.
Wow.
And when she was just starting off, and it's wonderful to see how her career has taken off. So do you want to introduce Dilvin?
Here's a little bit about Dilvin. Dilvin Yasa is a freelance journalist, published author and TV presenter whose work has appeared in publications around the world. She's currently the doc holiday columnist for Escape and has been known to file from bizarre locations around the world, whether it be atop a tree in the Brazilian rainforest or a polar bear hut in the Arctic. Welcome, Dilvin. It's so great to have you here.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's great to see you again, Dilvin. So tell us a little bit about your career to date, because we love to hear about how you started. And
you guys obviously worked together before.
We did. Early in her career, she was my editorial coordinator a long time ago.
Wow.
It's been a colourful career. And I think, Lynne, you would have remembered that I was in men's magazines initially. And not because I wanted to write porn by any stretch of the imagination, but, it was the one position that was going at ACP at the time, and I was so desperate to get my foot in the door, but then I got stuck. So by the time I came to you, Lynne, I think I don't know if I was crying in the interview, but I was definitely begging for you to give me a chance. And it was so lovely. We worked together for a number of years and before I moved into women's titles. And so very traditional. I spent 13 years at ACP. And then I went freelance, but it was interesting. I only became ambitious when I had my first daughter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just wanted to be a real role model for her. And so suddenly I started writing books. I started doing television. I started traveling the world as a travel writer. So I feel like I've done it all. But I will say about men's magazines, not the prettiest part of publishing, but it makes you a stronger writer. You have to be super creative.
And the pressure, they used to turn out a lot of copy fast too. So you not only have to be pretty good, but really fast with it, don't you? Quite
Absolutely.
Disciplined. Yeah.
Yeah. I worked across a few titles. One was weekly. So it was on all the time. And then the others, they were monthly, they were quarterlies. We worked across quite a few.
And we were talking off air about the red pen treatment that, you
Yes.
haven't lived unless someone's gotten their red pen out and murdered your copy. Tell us about who did that for you.
Soul destroying stuff. So, I was lucky. I worked in an environment. Mark Dappen really took me under his wing. And, we were saying Mark is a genius and he's so generous with his time. And, after everyone else had gone home, he'd sit with me with that horrible red pen. And I remember just looking, it looked like bloodshed, this thing. But he was just teaching me to become a better writer. And that's just really stayed with me. So I thank Mark every single day of my life.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good, because I do remember when you came to me and you'd had those 2 or 3 years in men's mags, you were so good. You were so much better than, than the role that I was giving you. But I guess it was a lot of people would get stuck in that men's mag. It was really hard to get out of that, wasn't it?
So hard. I was stuck there for 4 years, and I went to lots of interviews, and many times I'd go in and I'd show them my CV. We won't discuss what was in the CV, but editors would just look at it and then look at me and then just tell me to leave. Or they would say they didn't like the suburb that I was living in, or they'd say, get a PO box. You're never going to make it if you admit to people that this. Yeah, that happened to me as well. If you live in this area, you'll never make it in media. So it took a long time, and thank God for you, Lynne, for finally getting me out of there.
Wow. Well, you've done so much since then. Something I find really fascinating is, your commitment to travel journalism. And I know I did a lot of it actually before having kids, but you've managed to do it after having kids, which is an even bigger achievement.
It's weird,
How
right?
do you manage that?
I don't know. Do you know, it happened by accident. Exactly. It was, I wrote a couple of pieces just, on a whim. But then suddenly all the commissions started rolling in, and they wanted me to take my children, or, they wanted me to go on my own. And luckily I've got a husband who's very happy. He has flexible work arrangements, so he can stay home and do the lion's share of the child rearing and the housework. I didn't even know travel career was a valid career, but it's addictive. And I think had I started early, I probably wouldn't have gotten married and had kids. I would have just got stuck in that world.
Yeah.
I think it's easy to do.
Yeah, there must be some real challenges being a travel writer, because I know I've done a few trips in my time, but not for a while, because it's hard to write stories on the road. You take lots of notes. Now, how do you fit in other work? Because are you just travel writing these days, or doing other things?
No, I do a lot of other things as well. It's hard. It's funny when people see whatever you put on Instagram, it just looks like you're constantly on holiday. But what they don't see is that, yes, you're going on these trips, but you're getting up at 3 a.m. to do phone interviews because of time zones, or you're speaking to your kids before they can go to school. And then you file your work. I've got a column weekly. I have to file it no matter where I am. And then you work all day, you work till midnight, but then you go back to your room and then you're still working.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. I mean, I always feel like I'm doing something wrong, whether that be parenting or maybe the quality of my work. But you make it happen. You make it fit.
When I was doing those for meals, I remember I did some really big ones in China and Japan, and and your whole day is just packed, isn't it? It's like
it's 6 a.m. to midnight.
It is. Yep. And then you're in those, you're kind of at a restaurant, and you've got to review the food, and maybe the chef's there, and they've set up a
hotel
big
manager
table in the actual kitchen, so the chefs are working around you. Like, it's incredible experiences that you wouldn't otherwise have, but you're on all the time. It's actually not a holiday at all.
No, at all. And it drives me nuts when people say, "Oh, well, you're going on another holiday," and I think, oh, if you only knew. You get to stay in these amazing resorts. You never ever get to go in the pool. You never get to enjoy the facilities. It's work the whole time.
Yeah. So how long have you actually been freelancing?
I've just hit the 10-year mark. So I was made redundant when I was 37 weeks pregnant with my younger daughter. It wasn't just me, the whole office shut down. And that really forced me. I'd been thinking about going freelance for a while, but that really forced me to do it. And I remember being so panicked. I had Ivy in the hospital, and I think within 2 hours, I was madly pitching editors because I thought, oh my God, we're all going to starve. What are we going to do? And it was so nice because all these women, all these female editors who just took pity on me and gave me commissions because they'd heard what had happened. And then that's how my freelance career began.
In the hospital, postpartum.
In the hospital, relying on the kindness of other mothers in the industry who can imagine what the terror would be of, being made redundant so late in a pregnancy.
Yeah. Wow. Talk to us about your column in Escape. When did you get that? What does it involve? It sounds like a dream job.
Oh my God, it is. I pinch myself every day. I cannot believe it. So I had been writing for Escape for a number of years. And obviously I proved to myself to be the ultimate workhorse. I always filed on time, and it was clean, and I hope witty copy. So when their Doc Holliday resigned, they gave me the position, and that was 3 years ago.
Mm.
So it just means that, yes, every week I'm filing, and I think we mentioned in the intro, I've filed from ridiculous places in the world, because no matter where you are or what you're doing, that copy has to get out. I'm pleased to say I've never been late with my copy.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it's fun. And I
Wow.
really love engaging with readers. It was interesting during COVID. I felt like people were a bit more prickly, but now people have relaxed. They're happy. Everyone's excited. It's a fantastic job.
Oh, that's nice.
Lucky you.
Such a busy life, though. Take us through an average week. Obviously, you got your column. That's a given.
Okay, so if I'm in town, it does mean that from 9 to 2:30 I'm working. So it could be working on Doc Holiday, it could be any number of features that I'm working on. Then I go and get my girls, and then we've got a few hours together. And then in the evenings, there's usually an event of some description. So I usually go to 2 or 3 events a week, and that's usually within the travel sector. So, and then in the evenings, after my children have gone to bed, I'm writing again. So that's what that's like. But when I'm away, it just, as we discussed, it'll be 6 a.m. to midnight working, but then I'm up during the night. So I'll set my alarm. I'll do phone interviews if I'm, overseas and I've got to contact someone in Australia, or I want to catch my kids before they go to school. It's just intense, but I don't know. Mums have a way of making things work, right?
Yeah.
What's that saying? Like, if you want something done, give it to a busy person.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's exactly that.
Well, speaking of being a mum, you've written a couple of books about parenting. I think we were talking about them briefly before. Talk to us about that path to publishing and how your books came about and what they're about.
It was completely by accident. So when my eldest daughter was a baby, I don't know what was wrong with me. I started just thinking, if something ever happened to me and my husband had to look after her, what would he teach her about men and dating and, how do you find the good people in your life? How do you find your tribe? So I started writing her a series of letters, which is probably quite macabre. And then just one day I was in the office and I thought, I wonder if this could ever be a book. And on a whim, I sent it to the slush pile of Pan Macmillan. And then within a week, I had a 2-book deal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was, I know, it's one of those stories, and that was interesting. And so that became a book by accident. And then the second one, they wanted me to write another parenting book. So there we were. Yeah. I know, that's a terrible story. I know so many authors.
That's amazing.
Work for many years to exactly.
But maybe it just proves you're actually quite a good writer, Dilvin. Hopefully.
Maybe,
exactly.
Yeah, it was nuts. I just think, oh God, I'm supposed to be writing another one at the moment, but I just haven't had time. And my publisher's like, so what's happening with that?
Oh no.
Are you staying within parenting for your next book? Okay.
Not at all.
Do you think publishing a book helps your career? And what about, do you make any money? What about finances? We always ask this and nobody seems to.
Look, I think if you happen to write a bestseller, then maybe, but no, I only get dribs and drabs, a couple of times a year. It's not enough to live on. But I think it's nice to be able to say you're a published author, and particularly when you're approaching new publications, to say, well, I've written these 2 books. People tend to take you a little more seriously. So I think you do get a lot more work because of the books you've published.
Yeah. Makes you look like a proper writer.
Well, exactly. And I say published author because it sounds better.
Yeah.
Yes.
What about, have you found the promotion of your books like quite, a laborious sort of thing? Because it seems with the authors that we've talked to on the podcast, they handle a lot of that promotion these days. Was that your experience?
Absolutely. Because you're in the industry, you've got all the contacts. It made more sense. I mean, I sat back initially with the first book and I thought, well, they'll do it. They've got a publicity team. But they're not as invested in your book as you are. So I just found that I was working around the clock, contacting all the editors, terrorizing TV producers, just really forcing and I'm not like that at all. I'm quite an introvert. So yeah, it was me, definitely. And I worked around the clock to get my name out there.
And hang on, you've done some TV too, haven't you? So you had those contacts.
Yes. Well, I only got it with my first book. I went on to, Mornings with David Campbell and Sonia Kruger. And they really enjoyed this segment so much that I started going back 2-3 times a week.
Oh, wow.
And then that eventually got me a role co-hosting a travel show for Channel 9. But the unfortunate thing there is that the show was called Global Roaming, about international travel, and it first went to air at the beginning of 2020.
Oh,
no.
So, I
Good
mean,
timing.
a few episodes in, that was pulled, and there was discussion about doing a second season, but we haven't quite picked up the conversation yet. Bad timing.
Bad
How
time.
exciting.
So many
Worst.
people could have had that timing. And who would
Exactly.
have predicted it? Yeah.
Exactly.
I'd love to talk to you about making journalism pay, because this is particularly well known in things like travel, all the nice things. Do you do any sort of content writing or commercial work to help supplement your income, or can you live off travel journalism?
I feel like I should be doing more content writing, but I do make a pretty good living just by writing features, and I love writing features. So yes, it's something I'm meaning to get around to eventually, and I do get offers, but I have managed to just base my career entirely off feature writing.
Oh, that's interesting.
Talk to us about the other types of features that you do and the other niches that you sort of have apart from travel and parenting.
So I tend to do, I always tend to do everything except beauty, fashion, or fitness, because I couldn't tell you a thing about beauty or fashion. I have no clue. And fitness bores me. So anything else, I mean, I will do parenting. I do a lot of social justice. I work with the UNHCR, and I travel to Uganda with them to do a series of articles on refugees and asylum seekers. I'll do a lot of health publications as well. So features for, the House of Wellness. It could be for Marie Claire. I basically write for pretty much anyone who will still have me and whoever is still standing. So every week, obviously, you all know.
Yes.
Every week there's a closure of some description which affects us all. And, I do wonder whether it's time to start working with animals. That was my backup plan in 2020 when everything started shutting down. I thought, what are we going to do? I'm going to go work with animals. That'll be it.
I love
still
that.
in the back of my mind.
Yeah, my backup plan is basically to buy a kiln and start throwing pots. That's my second career. I'm thinking about that.
Oh, what a dream. Or working in a bookshop. We all dream of that sometimes.
Yes,
but the reality is not quite what we have in our heads.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So does the work come to you, or do you spend a lot of time pitching?
I don't pitch. It's I have this notebook of all these story ideas that I keep meaning to pitch, and I've probably had it for about 2 years. And it's funny. Anytime I come close to clearing my schedule, I just open up my inbox and there's 5 emails from editors saying, can you write these 8 stories? And so I'm just constantly a hamster on the wheel, just churning it out. And every so often I gaze longingly at this notebook of like, when am I going to write these stories I'm so passionate about? And I never get around to it.
Wow, that's a good position to be in.
It is. Yeah, it is. Absolutely. And from a financial aspect, yes. But sometimes you want to, I don't know, you want to write for the love of it as well.
Yeah. I know the frustration of not being able to actually get to those ideas and put them out in the world, especially if they're great.
Better at saying no.
Yeah.
But you can't write. As a freelancer, it's so difficult to say no to things because you worry all the time that it's going to dry up tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
and I think
I
2020 taught us that too.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
And since 2020, I think I've worked harder than I've ever worked in my life.
Yeah. I wanted to chat to you a bit. I know you don't pitch per se, but about travel pitching, because I know it's something that's so on a lot of our listeners' radars, isn't it, Lynn? And how that differs from other types of pitching. Because I know that when I started travel writing, I was very young and green, and I wrote the story and sent it in on spec with the images, and they always got picked up because it was like, here's,
complete package
copy. Yeah, if they liked the story, it was just a no-brainer. But
yes.
I'm guessing that still happens a little bit with the grey nomad type writers who are kind of undermining the other travel writers who want to get paid for their work. But is it the case that you're always trying to pin a pitch to a famil, so that's sort of how the story comes about? Or is it still that you could get a story in if you wrote it on spec? It's a bit of a different niche, isn't it, in that respect?
And it's so different, and it really depends on the relationship you have with an editor, if you have one already or if you're still very new to it. With Escape, that's how I started too. I wrote a whole story and I sent it in, and they liked it so much that they started commissioning me. So definitely well worth doing. And I think for me, when I am pitching, or not when I'm pitching, but if I am offered a famil, I have to be very clear about whether they're inviting me Dilvin Yasa?
Yeah.
Or are they inviting a particular publication? Because sometimes they come my way and I very quickly discover that they want Escape, for example. And then I'll have to forward that to the editor and say, you might want to invite someone else. I don't know.
Yeah.
But sometimes they'll come to me and say, we want you to write it. We don't care which publication it is. And then I will speak to editors. Yeah, it's an interesting one. They all have a very different way of working.
Their preferred sort of where they want it placed sort of thing. I think that's the case too, but it's also an interesting niche in the sense that your relationships with PRs are so all important, aren't they? Because that can bring you so much work if you have those really strong, travel PR relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. They'll think of you first. There are plenty of writers out there and plenty of writers who are trying to move into travel. And, it's important that you're likable and then you do actually spend a lot of time together going to events, even if you'd rather just stay home with your children. You make sure you put on your dress, you put on your lipstick and you go out there because networking is huge. Like you've got to do it.
I wanted to also ask you, like, if you're going on a big trip, what's the etiquette in carving up your trip? Like, is it that you're linked to Escape because you're an Escape columnist? It wouldn't be the done thing for you to carve up your trip and perhaps sell parts of it elsewhere? Or do you know what I mean? Like, if you could get a number of stories out of one big trip, and
you've got to.
Yeah.
If you're taking 2 weeks out of your time, it doesn't make financial sense to only, sell it to one magazine. And then you get, it just doesn't make sense. So what I would do, and I think this is true of most travel writers, is whoever has commissioned you, they have the exclusive. There's no question. So you write the story that they've asked you to write. It goes to print, and then sometime down the track, you will come up with 5 or 6 other ideas that are very different to the original idea, and then you'll pitch those. But you can't do it until the first one has run.
That's what I used to do. I used to say I would do a story on the chef at the hotel, and then I'd do a story on some other aspect of the trip. But it's a tricky one, isn't it? If the original magazine or newspaper had sent you, do they have dibs on those future stories, or how do you manage that?
Well, I always check with the editors.
Yeah.
I just think you don't want to upset anyone in this industry. It's a small industry. People talk. Yeah. You definitely you don't want to bite the hand that feeds. Exactly. So you always think they get the exclusive, and then later, you might have that conversation about, well, I'm going to write about this and this and this.
Yeah.
I'm sure some stories you do are bits of compilation. So it might be, the great hotel pools of the world, or it might be.
That's right.
So you might have think, oh, there was that one I went to in Istanbul, and there's the one I went to in, Morocco or whatever, and pull them together. The more you do it, there's more of those sort of things too, aren't there?
Exactly. And sometimes, you might pay for a trip. I recently went to Svalbard, but I paid for the trip. I decided just to go. I'd always wanted to go. I did pitch to a particular magazine just an element of that trip. I was there for 3 weeks. So 1 week of it was a famille then that was put aside for a publication. But then I had 2 weeks of activities that I paid for myself. Then I'm free to do whatever I like with it.
Yeah.
But only after that first publication has run the feature.
Yeah.
It's a minefield. You're always thinking about, am I doing the right thing? Who do I need to speak to?
Yeah. I love that when you went and paid for your own trip and you could organize your own thing, because you had so much more control over the stories that you wanted to do. Whereas when you're on a famille, it becomes a little bit of a tug of war with the PR that wants you to see these certain things. And you're like, well, I'm here and I've researched this place that I really want to go to. So, you have to constantly negotiate doing things that you want to place as well, I think.
Yeah.
And what if something is rubbish and then you're not there for
which
the
it
PRs,
often is.
You're there for the readers.
It
happens. And then you just think, well, how would I feel writing this glowing story about a product that I think is fairly, well, I want to say rubbish, knowing that readers are going to be, reading this article and then taking their hard-earned dollars and taking this holiday because you've recommended it. I wouldn't be able to live with it. So, I'm sure I've upset a few PRs in my time, no question, because
you're one of those travel writers that says, no, I'm not going to that breakfast. I'm actually going to go and climb that mountain.
Well, no. I mean, I do everything on the itinerary, but because I think it's disrespectful if you don't. But I'll be honest, if something isn't up to scratch, I will be honest in the copy.
Yeah.
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 Which they don't
Which is
love.
great.
Yeah. Interesting. It's such an interesting minefield.
So tell us a bit about what you're working on now.
Well, I just came back from 10 weeks of travel. So that was intense. I went to Japan. I went to the States. I went up to Svalbard. I went to Sri Lanka.
Where's Svalbard to? I've got to ask you.
Yes. Do you know, I went to Flight Centre to book my flight to Svalbard, and they had no idea where it was. And I had to take them to the big map on the wall and say, right up here near the North Pole. So if you go to Norway and go right up to the top, it's just a little group of islands in the middle of the Arctic between Norway and the North Pole. And it's the one place where polar bears outnumber humans.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's it's spectacular. If you get a chance, get to go. So because I did all of these trips, so now I've got all these features that I've got to write. It's it's an extensive list. I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed.
Fair enough.
Do you take lots of notes when you're away and then write them, do a draft when you're there, like on the plane or that sort of thing?
Exactly. All any plane, any flight that I'm on, I'm working the whole time. And then when I'm there, I'm taking notes, I'm interviewing people, and then I've got a basic structure for the story before I even come back and start writing. I just find that if you just leave it, I tend to forget things. I'm getting older now. So I like to come back and get on it straight away.
Yeah. I was like that. Just write it when it's really fresh and then you can tidy it up back at home.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we like to ask all our guests about their tech tips. So that, are there any digital tools that you use or that help you with your writing?
Especially on the road. What do you
on the road tools? Yeah.
I mean, I'm so analog. My family love to make fun of me. So I record them on my phone when I'm interviewing them, and that's about it. But I will admit to this, when I'm interviewing someone at home, I type the whole thing while I'm speaking with them, and that saves me time transcribing it later. So I record, but because I'm such a quick typist, I just do it all at once.
You need to look into Otter, Dilvin.
I know. This is what I mean. I make my life more difficult. It's terrible. I still think email is the most amazing thing.
Oh, it is
so silly. I know. My husband just thinks I'm a big joke. He doesn't know how I've managed to come so far.
Actually though, so many people that come on the podcast say I'm very old school. I literally use Word and that's it. So, you're in
not
good
alone.
company.
And there are all these studies to back up the fact that you're far more likely to retain information if you write with a pen and paper. If you take the notes down, which I still do. Because if I commit it straight away, to my phone, I do not remember a thing.
Yeah.
So I'm sticking by it.
Yeah.
I still have a calendar on my fridge with all my dates in it. Sorry, I know that's not what you wanted to hear.
No, there's nothing wrong with old school. We love it.
Yeah. So do you think there's anything else that's important for somebody interested in freelance writing or travel writing even? Yes.
Absolutely. My biggest tip, and this is what I tell my girls all the time, that if they remember any kind of career advice from me, it's to never be an a-hole. Can I say that? I can say that.
You can say that, yeah.
Well, I just think you could be the most talented writer in the world, but if you're difficult and you're making diva-like demands, people are going to drop you pretty quickly. But if you're likable, you file clean copy on time, you're easy, you problem solve, that makes a difference. So, yes, hugely important for any aspiring feature writer.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Wow, Dilvin, this has been really fascinating chatting to you.
Such a great chat.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so
guys
much.
to catch up as well after 14 years.
So lovely. Lynne never changes. She is gorgeous.
Oh, that's so nice.
She might invite you over for scones one day, Dilvin. You watch yourself.
Scones. I didn't know about this.
Yes.
She's the scone woman. Where can people find you? Is there anywhere that you would like us to direct people to?
Probably Instagram, and that's just at Dilvin Yasa.
Yep. Okay, we'll put that in the show notes. And I think that brings us to the end of the show this week.
It does. Thank you so much, Dilvin. It's so lovely to see you and hear your voice and find out so much about you and what you're doing now. I really loved it. So
thank you so much.
Yeah. So thanks to everyone listening and sharing us on social media. And if you like the show, don't forget to leave a review. it apparently still helps people to find us. So that's great.
And thank you again to our sponsors, Rounded, easy accounting and invoicing software made just for Australian freelancers and sole traders. You can find them at rounded.com.au.
And we'll have show notes in your podcast app. And so just head there to find out more about where you can connect with Dilvin and hear all about the Content Byte Summit and those early bird discounts, Rach.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.